Okay, we'll call this agenda priorities meeting to order for December the 1st. It's 3 p.m. and I'd like to ask Councillor Wing to read the land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. The town of Innisfail acknowledges that we are meeting on Treaty 7 territory, the ancestral and traditional territory of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Kainai, Piikani, and Siksika, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nation and Stoney Nakoda First Nation. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3, within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. We acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit who have lived in and cared for these lands for generations. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today and those who have gone before us. We make this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation and gratitude to those whose territory we reside on.
Okay, thank you. Move on to 2.1. Are there any additions or deletions? Can I please have someone make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented? Councillor Russell.
Barclay, I'll make that motion.
Thank you. All in favour? Carried. Okay, I'll call on Director Leith to please introduce our delegation.
Staff Sergeant Ihme, who is our detachment commander here in Innisfail, who's returned after a short time away in Red Deer, back into the breach.
Welcome, glad to have you back.
Well, thank you. I'm definitely happy to be back, for sure. No, it's I appreciate the invite just to come speak with you guys shortly today, and just wanted to say congratulations to everybody that got re-elected and elected and returned to council. And one of the privileges that we've definitely had in Innisfail is having such a strong working relationship with council and with administration as well. So it's definitely something that I'm very happy for, that relationship that we've always had. So I was just going to give a brief update on goings on at the detachment. Obviously, you guys know that I've been away for a few months, and today's actually my first full week back after holidays. So lots of good news in our office. The biggest good news is that we still are currently fully staffed every single position, which is a little bit of a unique situation for a lot of other detachments. We have had one of our constables that has accepted a transfer planning to the Forensic Identification Unit, so he's going to be leaving us sometime within the new year, but we anticipate being able to fill his position fairly quickly once that is official. Our staffing folks advised me that they've still got a list of people that want to come here, so which is great. Other than that, budget-wise, for us, we're actually looking really good this year, and we're actually so far for this point in the year, we're still several $1,000s below what we even were last year, so that's always good news. And as far as crime stats this year are looking much more improved than they were last year, and we're pretty much down in almost every category, with the exception of our persons crimes are up a little bit from last year, and there was 14 more person crimes this year to date than there was the year before. But every other category, property crime in the town is down 13.7%. Other criminal code is down by 6.2%. Break and enters are down by almost 40%. Motor vehicle thefts are down by 25%. And other thefts are down by 28%. And then we're seeing the exact same thing in the county, even to a greater degree, where we've got 30% total decrease in crime across the county. Break and enters are down 65%, thefts are down 59%. So everything seems to be definitely trending in the right direction. And yeah, other than that, our APP objectives that we set with council last year are still going strong, and we anticipate meeting all of our goals as far as those initiatives. And other than that, that's really all I've got to say as far as attachment, just pending any questions that anybody might have at all.
All right, thank you, Staff Sergeant Ihme. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, other than being just an outstanding force that we have detachment here, can you attribute the decrease?
Well,
to anything specific?
So like I said, so anybody that was at any of the town halls that we had last year, we definitely saw quite a blip in crime for whatever reason, not just in the town, but across the whole county. And especially within the first half of last year. And it's kind of skewed our crime stats negatively for a lot of last year. And I kept saying, wait till next year, it's going to look better. And so now we're kind of back to where we were historically over the last 4 or 5 years, right? So it's pretty much, even though it looks like there's a great improvement, really we kind of we've gone back to where the kind of natural level of where it should be, which is good. And as far as directly attributing that, like I'd love to say that it's all us doing awesome work all the time, and I'm sure some of that is. Sometimes it just ends up being luck. Sometimes it's just really engaged community, which we definitely have here right now. People are calling in crimes. They're not just letting things sit and go unanswered. So, yeah, I'd love to take all the credit, but you know what? I think this town, as far as crime, is pretty good, and it's not the police, it's the citizens, right? So, yeah.
I don't know whether you have the stats with you, but I know at your town halls you've shared the amount of time you spend on calls, so on mental health calls compared to.
Yeah, I didn't bring those. I can definitely find those, and I can send them through to administration to give to you guys, though, if you'd like to see them, for
come back again
sure.
another quarter or something, and I think those are really interesting for council to see and hear. And
well, and we will be planning, like at the policing committee this week, we'll probably be talking about planning our next town hall, which will probably be sometime shortly after Christmas would be my guess.
Okay, perfect.
So kind of January, and then we'll look at that same cycle of setting priorities for the next fiscal year.
Perfect. And I know that we all certainly enjoyed our visit to the Real-Time Operations Center last year, so maybe there's an opportunity in the next
absolutely
several months or something.
For those that haven't seen, we can probably figure it, but maybe in the spring.
Yeah, whenever. I don't no rush,
absolutely.
but I think it's such an important component that we don't hear a lot about. And
right.
So, anything else? No? Okay, you're free to go.
Perfect. All right. Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay, thanks for coming. Okay, we will move into 4.1 and our Red Deer County Rec and Culture Agreement with Director Jenkins.
All right, thank you, Mayor Barclay. So going back to November 10th, our council meeting when we were reviewing the Recreation and Culture Agreement that we have with Red Deer County, council requested that we come back with some information related to residency of users for our town facilities. So I've just compiled a selection of stats that we do have. So the Aquatic Center being the first one. Granted, these are 2024 stats that we're looking at here. So Aquatic Center lessons are the most accurate statistic collected for the facility as users register online and provide contact information. Public swim stats are also provided. However, this data is a little bit less reliable in terms of the tracking and the work with sort of front staff keeping those stats. School lessons, in addition to what's provided here, are provided to students both in the Chinook's Edge as well as Red Deer Catholic in Innisfail, and then the Chinook's Edge schools in Penhold, Spruce View, Penhold twice, and Bowden. So for lessons, we see sort of about 35% Innisfail users, 31% Red Deer County, 19% Penhold, the balance being Bowden and others. So this is where we see a pretty large contingent from Penhold as well as Red Deer County, but that's sort of 30% Red Deer County. Active memberships, 68% town, 16% county, and then 6.5% other. Public swims heavier on the town side, so 80% Innisfail, 13% Red Deer County, 6% other. And then private rentals is another one that we're able to keep pretty accurate stats because again, they're providing that detail for invoicing. So 23% Red Deer County, 35% town, 23% Penhold, 77% Red Deer City, and then 12% other. So just a note, kind of coming out of budget and conversation. So we will be bringing back rate and fee adjustments for the Aquatic Center. They won't come with your budget this month. We'll wait and do those probably in March. As we get closer to the facility reopening. One thing we have identified for the Aquatic Center, particularly in relation to the town-county rec agreement, is right now we don't have a a charge differential for any of our rates that would differentiate town and county versus anyone else. When we look and we do see some of the stats where we have Penhold and other communities making up a large percentage of the users, we will be looking to break out sort of a rate differential, maybe not for public swimming, but for things like lessons and space rentals and those to capture that benefit for town and county residents versus those others. So any questions on Aquatic Center before I go on to the other one? Please. No? Okay. So then the Twin Arena, the metric we typically use that's the easiest to get is from Innisfail Minor Hockey and their registration. So you can see of the just shy of 300 minor hockey participants, 34% Innisfail, 31 Red Deer County, 32 Penhold, and the balance sort of some other communities. So we do see a very, almost a third split between town, county, and Penhold for minor hockey users. Penhold doesn't currently have a minor hockey program. I don't anticipate that will develop anytime soon. I think it's pretty difficult to get volunteers, period, for these types of organizations, let alone someone taking on the creation of an entirely new organization. And our minor hockey program would likely suffer if we took 30% of our registrants out as well. So, and then onto our drop-in and registered programs. So these are the programs that we host in the Chinook's Edge gyms. So we have volleyball, badminton, climbing, basketball, and pickleball are all drop-in, and then we have registered programs for yoga, pound fitness, Zumba, some of those activities. The adult programming, or sort of the adult heavy programming, the volleyball, and the registered programs, you seem to see a bit more. In pickleball, you see more county users, where the youth programs, sort of climbing, badminton, where we see mostly younger participants, they tend to be more heavily town residents as opposed to county. But again, sort of just averaging across the board, 66% town, 27% county, and then 7% other. And then just for council's information, from September 2024 to August 2025, we had just under 3,250 individuals attend various drop-in programs in the community.
Okay, thank you, Director Jenkins. Does anybody have any questions? No. Question I have, Director Jenkins, when you mentioned the aquatic center and different fee structure, I didn't think that was allowed under the current ICF.
So the current agreement, we can't, so town and county would be the same.
Yeah.
But we could have a rate differential for the other communities.
Yeah, okay,
So
sorry, I thought you'd put our Red Deer County in that.
No.
As well. Okay. All right, well, things to discuss going forward, I guess. Also, the drop-in or the swim from the school, are you able to reach out as well and maybe have an idea of that mix between town and county?
like in terms of public swim or for?
No, school swim.
Oh, like the school enrollment breakdown? Yeah, we can get an updated one of those.
I think it might be important. I know
Yep.
Red Deer County has said it's probably around 30%, but I don't think we've ever really,
Yeah, for Innisfail schools, that holds generally is that.
just for discussions going forward.
Okay.
Might be an important point.
Yep.
All right, if there's nothing further, I'll just have somebody make a motion that we accept the report as information. Councillor McKellar.
Mayor Barclay, I'll make that motion that council accepts the report as information.
All right, thank you. All in favor? Carried. And we'll move into 4.2 with Director Jenkins as well, with land use planning.
All right, I'll try not to drag this one out too long. So again, Land use planning is one of our principal functions under the MGA, with it laid out within the MGA is that the purpose is to achieve orderly, economical, and beneficial development, use of land, and patterns of human settlement, and to maintain and improve the quality of the physical environment within which patterns of human settlement without infringing on the rights of individuals for any public interest. So essentially, planning is trying to balance private property rights with the overall benefit of the community longer term. So I did put together a bit of a summary for a high-level overview that we'll go through with some excerpts and illustrations from various documents. Again, I encourage you, don't rely on my excerpts. If you're looking for the information, go to the plan in its entirety. I did try to pull out some that will bring about some conversation and highlight sort of what type of information is contained in each type of document. So I guess the first thing is sort of the overall land use planning hierarchy in Alberta. At the top level, we have the MGA legislation as well as some provincial land use policies and subdivision regulation. That then comes down into sort of the intermunicipal development and municipal development plans, which are that high-level vision policy type documents. Working down into our land use bylaw and development permits, which are more the implementation mechanisms that come along with doing this type of work. So the IDP, the intermunicipal development plan, and municipal development plan are both plans that are required by the province, as well as the land use bylaw. Area structure plans and some of those others are optional or as a community sees fit. So the intermunicipal development plan is jointly developed between the town and county, manages development and land use compatibility along that sort of shared boundary between the urban and the rural, identifies key growth areas, lays out a referral process. So essentially, it primarily goes county to town in terms of the referral process as to what they're approving within and along that growth boundary, that we're provided the opportunity to provide comment as to whether we have concerns about how any type of development or subdivision may impact the town's long-term growth plans. It also lays out policies for cooperation and dispute resolution. So on the map in front of you there, sort of the blue, the gray is the town's existing boundary, blue being our growth areas, so showing that town's primary growth directions being to the north and to the west. The dotted area are lands where the county's regular rural policies apply, similar to the rest of the county. And then on the east side of Highway 2, you'll see the two orange areas and then the little purple strip. These have been identified as potential joint development areas. So these are areas of land that would remain within Red Deer County, but could have town services run to them. And we have sort of a tax sharing structure that would exist should those areas develop. The IDP also identifies that the IDP committee should meet on an annual basis to review sort of topics of concern or interest. So then going down from there, we go to our municipal development plan. So the MDP was just, new MDP was adopted in 2025. The new councillors, I provided you guys with a nice shiny copy. I think our returning councillors received their nice shiny copy a few months ago. So this was about a 2-year process to renew our MDP. It was originally adopted back in '98 and had been sort of updated in a few ways up to 2008. So major process involving a steering committee, basically sets the town's long-term community-wide strategy for the sort of next 50-year time horizon, establishes a vision, goals, policy direction for growth, land use, ECDEV, housing, transportation, infrastructure. The vision statement in the document is that By 2054, Innisfail has blossomed into a progressive and inclusive community of choice, offering an attractive quality of life for all generations, and is a leader in central Alberta that places a premium on the value of maintaining and encouraging respectful relations in neighboring municipalities and our regional partners. So again, lays out sort of that long-term growth. I did include a couple of the maps from this. So the first one identifies sort of areas for growth, has the downtown area, and then as well as commercial neighborhood nodes. So you see one near the south, adjacent to the Woodlands area. So this would be just south of Sunset Manor, kind of along the highway. In the west, the Bella Vista commercial area, as well as the Napoleon South, becoming sort of more of a neighborhood commercial center. And then in the north, along C&E Trail, the long-term plans identify sort of a commercial center for that area of the community as well. And then if you want to just go to the next map, Juanita, as well. So this maps out future land use. So sort of the yellow, light yellow is residential, and then the sort of gray purple is commercial industrial. So you can see sort of to the north and east are the sort of the industrial growth areas, and then we have sort of north of Hazelwood and then to the west of Highway 54 for that residential expansion. So then from the MDP, we move into our area structure plans. So area structure plans provide that next level of detailed planning for specific areas of town, provide specific land use patterns, roadways, utility servicing strategies, and phasing. Council approves area structure plans through a bylaw process, so there's first, second, third reading and a public hearing associated with all area structure plan adoption as well as amendments. The town has four current area structure plans, so we'll just sort of move through those as we go. So the first, we have the North Area Structure Plan, which is essentially the north residential and industrial areas. Lays out that high-level plan. Essentially east or west of C&E Trail is intended for future residential development, and then east of C&E Trail you'll see industrial, and then we have Discovery Wildlife Park is sort of that beige color, and then the purple with the yellow hatch is industrial, but it is privately serviced based on sort of our long-term servicing studies. These lands between the QE2 and Highway 2A are challenging for municipal services, so these would be industrial properties, but would be privately serviced water and wastewaters, so through wells and septic systems on those properties. So then just in the next series of maps, you can see this provides the high-level servicing strategies with respect to wastewater, water, and storm sewers. I won't go through kind of the intricacies of any of them unless folks have specific questions. I guess, Juanita, if you want to just go back to that land use map. This map you can see the large green block with the future school site. So this was a conversation that came up with some of our long-term capital planning. So that is the location where the next school, when it is required, is laid out to be, and as well showing those east-west connections from Hazelwood out to C&E Trail. So next area structure plan is the Woodlands area structure plan. So again, this one we talked about a couple more pages down there, Juanita. That one. So this is at the south end of town. This is the plan that we have identified some potential budget dollars should developers start to move forward to be able to update the servicing and land use strategy for this area. So this plan was originally adopted back in 2014, has been amended a few times over the last little while, but you see the large sort of yellow is what we talk about with the Laban property, and then sort of that lighter yellow beige color, those are the Hereford Meadows lands that have been referenced as well. So again, depending on where development occurs within this area, it will impact what the most effective way to achieve water and wastewater service for the area. Again, for this part of town south of Highway 54, these properties are privately serviced. They aren't identified nor currently have town services, so they're on private wells and septic systems, as well as the current acreages along Woodland Road are privately serviced. So as that area develops, those Woodland Road properties would be brought on to municipal services.
Director Jenkins, can you remind me for a sec, the properties, we changed zoning, did we not, on properties around Blue Rock?
Yeah, so
Couple
those,
years ago?
the white,
That's the white
the
blocks.
white ones that kind of jog in.
Okay.
Those had been zoned for commercial use. They're now an R3 higher multifamily residential zoning. They are, as they were developed, so Blue Rock is the top white box, and then the two below are vacant lots right now. You can see when you look sort of at the middle area between Hereford Meadows and Laban, there's a whole kind of matchstick of property lines and different acreage shapes, which does make this area challenging in terms of the transition from that kind of rural acreage type of development moving into more of an urban residential area. Juanita, if you want to scroll down to the next one there. It's kind of hard to see on this map. When we get to the outline plan, we can talk a bit more about the lift station. But right now, there's essentially the area, most of this entire area would drain down to a lift station near the south. It's kind of a very small dot, almost right in the middle of the map there, and then gets pumped back up towards the regional line. But again, if the Hereford Meadows area moved forward, does it make sense to have either two or the phasing of that servicing? So again, this plan lays out the wastewater, the water, and the storm service plan. So Anita, you can scroll down a couple more pages. The next really colorful one. There you go. So this is the Bella Vista area structure plan. This is only at the quarter section level. Typically, the area structure plans would be a larger sort of geographic area. The Bella Vista outline or area structure plan has a level of detail that's more similar to what we would call an outline plan. But because we don't have a west area structure plan, when this developer came forward, the plan was done at this sort of quarter section scale. Again, you see the mix of land uses identified there. The light yellow being sort of your single family R1C zoning. Sort of orange goes into R2, and then the brown is a higher density. The red area in the bottom right corner is a commercial, about a 4-acre commercial parcel. So you can see in this plan, Juanita, as you scroll down, there's a bit more detail in terms of the number of lots, some of those areas, and then the next map shows the proposed phasing. So at this point, phase 1 is what is currently built and developed, with development progressing to the north, phase 2, 3, 4, 5, throughout throughout the rest of the quarter section. So then the next plan here is the Napoleon Lake Area Structure Plan. This is our oldest plan by far, originally adopted in 1990. Most of this area is fully built out, with the area on the northwest side of Napoleon Lake sort of being the area that we still aren't sure the final way that area will be developed. Again, an area that has some servicing challenges in terms of getting water and wastewater services there. You can see on this plan it says possible low density area. The conversation about what level of use will end up being there continues to this day. We've gone everywhere from sort of larger lot acreages to full urban servicing and lotting over there. I had someone inquire about a campground not that long ago too. So this one's still is still in the works as to how it will play out and what those servicing challenges will mean for that area. Yeah, this is one that, although it hasn't been updated for a long time, as it is a primarily built-out area, we likely won't revisit it until there's either development in that far corner, or when we start to look at more of a redevelopment strategy. So then into the next sort of level down, we have outline plans. So outline plans, as opposed to being driven in their development by the town, these are brought forward by developers and kind of fill in the details between that area structure plan and the actual subdivision application that gets submitted. They provide more detailed layouts with the lotting of the properties, more detail on road cross sections and patterns, servicing details, and sometimes architectural and landscape details. They're approved by resolution of council, and there are currently 3 in place here in town. The first being the Hazelwood Outline Plan. So just catch up here. My screen. So first page, so this is, if for everyone just keeping track, so the Hazelwood area between the golf course and Dodds Lake. The outline plan, you can scroll down, Juanita, to the next one, just the next map page. So this area provides a variety of single family, duplex, and eventually townhouse development. Again, at the top, the green block, that is the south portion of what would be future school site. And you can see the 65th Street, and then the street at the top would be those east-west connections linking out to C&E Trail. The next maps show sort of more detail on road layout, water servicing. If you want to go to the couple down that has the phasing, you can see, so the green areas are currently built out as well. Phase 4 is now complete as well. That's Hickory Crescent. Phase 5 is primarily townhouse development. That would be the next phase should the developer move forward. And this would be the final phase before one of those east-west road connections would need to be completed to allow sufficient access for more units to be developed.
So, Director Jenkins, can you expand a little bit on what's required on that connection going east and land purchase? And
so essentially it's an emergency access or access exit requirement. The plan identifies 200 dwelling units on a single access because the way this development works. If you can just scroll up like a centimeter or two on that same map, you can see, scroll up so you can see the bottom of it. Sorry. Scroll down so you can see the bottom of it. So 58th Avenue is the main north-south entrance into the subdivision area. Right now, if everyone needed to get out of this area, they would all need to come down 58th, come to 53rd, go past the campground before they would be able to get anywhere else. So that 200 was identified, 200 units as sort of the maximum that, again, I don't know that it's a scientific rule that was determined as what the level of comfort was on behalf of the town before they would want to see some other type of access. That doesn't mean that new access has to be a paved road from day one. It could end up being, a gravel or a secondary access that is only for emergency purposes, depending on the timing of the school site and the rest of the development within the area. And then you can just scroll through. I think I got a few extra pages twice there, Juanita, until you get down to there you go. So this next one is the Woodlands outline plan. So this is the more detailed plan specific to the Laban properties in the south. So again, you can see the red indicates the lands that this applies to. If you want to scroll down to the next one, Juanita. So this is primarily residential, primarily detached residential. One small cul-de-sac there of the brown is duplex. And then the red indicates some commercial at the south. You can see the two entrances to this area. Davie Street, that's an existing access. The south, the piece of property between where the plan starts and Woodland Road, that is a town-owned property. So if they were to move forward, the land is in place for that road connection to be completed. If you want to go down a couple. So again, this plan provides more detail and nuance around the type of housing and such. That's just the topography, and that kind of plays into the servicing challenges that go along with that area, as it does kind of drop off, making water not run uphill. So if you want to go to one up is the wastewater map. You can see there's kind of a little red box that has LS in it. Essentially, all of the sewer from the area would run to that lift station and then get pumped back up towards the town yards and the regional sewer line.
So Director Jenkins, that lift station, if development happened in the Hereford Meadows side, is that still the location or?
Potentially. Again, it kind of depends what their layouts look like, but that's part of this conversation. Is when this plan was done, the assumption was that lift station would service not only this area, but kind of that entire development area. Where if Hereford Meadows is going to happen and this maybe is years beyond, does it make more sense for there to be a smaller lift station, sort of specific for Hereford Meadows, and then this area wouldn't have to be as large of a lift station when it does come online. But again, it might make more sense to still build the larger one. I don't know if you want to pipe in.
Sure. We did do a review of the model in regards to capacity. It looks like there is capacity to tie in if we do decide to go with an initial for Hereford Meadows lift station to tie into 37th Street. So potentially, yeah, there is an option there to separate that flow.
We need, if you want to just go down a couple pages to the one that has all the phases, this one. So you can see the way this area would build out. Phase 1 is near the south end, which may not be intuitive if you were just thinking about it. So they would be building phase 1 with that lift station and the road connections into that area, and then working their way sort of north and then west, which does highlight some of the challenges that the developer has had in terms of making the economics on that front-end financial contribution. If there's, I just wanted to check my notes. Returning councillors will, remember we did go through the developer had brought forward a potential amendment to this plan. Sorry, we need to just scroll up so you can see the top of that map. Where it says phase 11, there was a proposal to bring a road connection in from the existing neighborhood into the north end of this development area, which would have allowed a phase or two to happen before that lift station would have been required. That was not approved, so this is still the plan that's in place for the area. So then our last outline plan it's currently called the Dodds Lake outline plan. We have heard the Upper Vista name with the new developer. So this plan goes back to 2011, I believe, and will likely need to be largely revisited when any developer moves forward, just because of changes with provincial wetland policy. So a lot of this area, the Dodds Lake drains into this land and it connects over to Waskesiu Creek. There's a number of small wetlands, and that drainage course, this plan had sort of proposed to channel that through. Since its adoption, the province is less accommodating of those types of things, and does claim ownership of many wetlands that maybe previously people didn't think were wetlands. So there's probably a fair bit more of this plan that will end up dedicated as environmental reserve, and we'll need to revisit the layout. At the southeast corner, there was a subdivision approved in 2023 for 101 townhouse units. That subdivision approval has since expired. And we haven't had a lot of sort of feedback from that developer, but the subdivision application was approved with the expectation that following that they would be doing a full overhaul of this plan. At this point, again, that subdivision application has expired, and we're not sure the status of their activities. So the next sort of type of plan is the downtown area redevelopment plan. Our ARP was approved in 2013 and is currently slated sort of in the work plan for planning and development to be updated in the next year or so. So this is a plan looking sort of at reinvestment and redevelopment of our downtown area, and includes a variety of sort of architectural as well as public realm references and policies. So we will be particularly kind of coming out of the MDP looking to update the ARP and make sure that it's encouraging the type of development we want to see through the downtown. Then the next one, so there's various policies related to sort of architectural massing of buildings, even down to colors, those types of things for redevelopment in the downtown. The next layer of regulation, I didn't get into it extensively in this document, is the land use bylaw. So land use bylaw is really our implementation tool between these plans we've talked about and actual development permitting. Council all has the land use maps in front of them with all the various districts throughout the community that then lead into the actual uses and development requirements for each of those areas. We then also have our construction design guidelines, so these get right down into the technical. You're a couple pages ahead there, Juanita. That's okay. everything down to, you know, how wide sidewalks need to be when we build new areas, how are they sloped, how do they drain, how wide are roads, all of those specifications are contained within our design guidelines. And then down to the next. And then we have a whole host of other types of plans adopted by council or approved by council that inform various types of development. Again, in budget, we talked about updating our 2010 Recreation and Open Space Master Plan, which would also probably incorporate a few of these other plans, the Dodds Lake Rec Plan, the Trail Plan. All of those would feed into that plan. I did want to talk a little bit about our Housing Action Plan. So that's the next 2 pages. So this was sort of the action plan that came out of our housing needs assessment that was done in 2023. So that plan went through extensive public engagement as well as analysis of statistics and documents. I was just flipping back through it earlier today. Prior to this, one of the stats that we talk about a lot with council is our demographics here in Innisfail and how we're quite different from a lot of places. So 55% of folks in Innisfail are 55 plus, compared to 41% on the provincial average. So how that impacts housing and various changes throughout. So if you want to just go to the next page, Juanita. So this plan did lay out a number of sort of actions. Many of them, even since 2023, we have taken action on quite a few. So looking, the first one was promote or require demolition, rehabilitation, or redevelopment of vacant and derelict properties. So we have upped our game a bit on enforcement as well. When council goes through their tax policy review, there'll be conversation about whether there needs to be an effort to sort of target those vacant properties as a way to incentivize development, direct facilitation for infill. So the second one there on the list is our infill incentive program, which as mentioned was fully allocated for 2025 and does, we have seen a fair amount of infill development. I believe we had 3 4-plexes this past year and are continuing to see that infill that we're looking for. The MDP update has been completed. The land use bylaw review is underway. A draft will be presented to MPC in January, and then we'll come to council from there. We'll be working on the downtown ARP renewal, continuing to work and keep in contact with our various land developers in the community. The construction of the homes in Napoleon Meadows. So this identified that 4 units being built in 2024. We did end up building 6 units in Napoleon Meadows, all of which have closed. So we should be able to provide council with a sort of a summary of that activity into 2026 now that all the sales have closed. It also kind of spurred development in the rest of that neighborhood, and all of the lots are now sold in Napoleon Meadows. This also talks about the Napoleon South land development that we're undertaking. So good progress on our housing action plan when we start to revisit some of these plans. And then the final pages that I included are from the 2013 land supply and growth study. So there's just a lot of good information sort of on demographics and history and land supply in the community. We get the question, do we have enough commercial land? Do we have enough industrial land? Based on these projections, we're still in really good shape in terms of the availability of land. We're not in a position where we'll be looking to annex land in the near future. There will be a census done in 2026, so as we move into 2027, we would likely be looking to update a document like this, so to sort of reflect how development has changed. When we look through the predictions in this growth strategy, we have stuck pretty close to the low growth projection that is provided. If you just want to go to the next graph, Juanita. So this one is household size, so we can see over the course of time the number of persons per household has continually declined. So we need more houses for less people. And even in 2021, our census data, I think we were 2.4 people per household. So that continues to decrease. But yeah, just essentially wanting to give council some awareness of the plans that exist, what type of information is contained in those various documents. All of these documents are available on our website in their entirety. And then as we have various proposals or things come forward, we'll bring that information to council as well. So, yeah, that's a lot of information.
It was. So the last few charts here, like the 2011 is quite old. And then looking at the population projected numbers going forward, they don't quite match where we're at. Like, how does that get updated, Director?
No,
Jenkins?
so that's when we get new census data for 2026,
Okay.
We would look at going back into a plan like this. As part of the MDP, as well as the housing assessment, we did do some other sort of manipulating and truing up of numbers to sort of 2021 census data. But this one also included sort of the commercial and industrial projections as well.
So the 2026 census, we probably wouldn't get results until 2020.
We might get the sort of basic population and some of the household data by the end of next year, and then the more detailed data tends to kind of trickle out into 2027.
Just, concerns me a little bit with information on the website that is quite ancient, or even looking at the this page that we have up on the screen right now, like looking at 2026, where that population number is projected to be, I guess, and maybe where it is. Like, do people, potential developers, look at that and go, not.
We can certainly, again,
I don't know.
we
I'll
can
leave that with you. I
update
don't
them,
know, but yeah.
Yes, and looking at this information is, is valuable for developers in terms of what that historic population growth has been. Has it been the low growth scenario? Yep, it has been. So.
Yeah, I just think the last year or two, it's been a lot better, and but like I never know quite where the government of Alberta gets their numbers from. Like, they seem
It's
to
always
attach something,
quite different from
very different
from what we.
But if you Google right now Innisfail population and you got government of Alberta, it's a 2.33% increase.
Yeah.
And we're at 8,700 or 8,800, something like that. So I guess what I've said before, like speaking with a developer in Calgary, they were kind of, is your community
Again, I think
place to
typically
invest,
we
right?
try to rely on StatsCan as being
Yeah.
the most, rigorous data. But yes, I know there's lots of conversations between, library with Treasury Bureau data and different data sources.
I guess what I'm getting at, we've seen a lot of growth in the community the last, say, 3-4 years, like Hazelwood and Napoleon Meadows and everything, and I just want that story to somehow be reflected in our data, and I'm not sure that it is necessarily, if that makes sense. And I realize you're pulling actual stats from StatsCan, but.
Yeah, Mayor Barclay, I would agree. I think we're anticipating some adjustments to the numbers. We don't have that data yet.
Okay.
I think that's why some municipalities, depending on their growth, they'll choose to do their own census to make sure they have the accurate data yearly and not based on the national census.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't believe we've done a municipal census since 2010 or something like that, yeah.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, does anybody have any questions about Dr. Jenkins? Councillor McKellar?
Mayor Barclay through to Director Jenkins. I don't have a question, I just have a comment. Thank you for sharing this. It was actually an enjoyable Sunday afternoon read.
There you go.
Because it taught me a lot about the community and that
Well,
I probably didn't know, so thanks for sharing it.
Well, I tried to pull out, as opposed to throwing 400 pages of here's all the plans at you, to try to bring out some of the visuals that, and hopefully it ties into some of the conversations we've even had in the last few weeks about different considerations and upcoming things on the horizon. Great.
Councillor Wing?
Thank you. I do have a question that just popped into my brain. This is relative to the woodlands structure plan that we have in place. That was put in place with a developer who is now selling that land. Whoever purchases that land, that plan comes attached to that land. And
Correct.
if they want to make changes, they have to go through the process all over again.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes, the area structure plan, again, area structure plans are sort of town-initiated documents, but then their outline plan, again, is approved by resolution of council and stays with the land.
Okay, Councillor Hill?
I was just going to make the recommended motion, if that was the next step in your.
All right.
Mayor Barclay, I would make the motion that council accepts this report as information.
Definitely a lot shorter. Thanks, Mayor Barclay. So in front of you, yeah, it's just really an overview of our snow and ice policy. It's a good time of year to give that a quick summary. Back in 2024, we did do an update. It was our last update to the policy. Couple changes, mainly was in reference to the snow dump facilities. Back in the previous version, we had 6 locations where we actually piled snow. We accumulated all those into one facility down to the town yard, where it's a controlled and an approved snow dump facility. This did create some adjusting of hauling and did require some additional fleet, where we did add 1 additional truck into it. Currently, we do have 1 end dump and 4 tandems in our fleet that takes care of our snow, as well as an update to the map was required. So that time we didn't include Bella Vista, the pedestrian crossing, as well as the trails along 42nd Street and along 42nd Ave. Upon review of it, it did not change any of the service levels that we have currently, with clearing of the level 1 routes within 24 hours of a snow event. To clarify that, that's clearing, not removal, as well as completing the clearing within 4 working days of all our level 1 routes. Snow removal starts once snowpacks hit that 5 centimeter depth, and typically starts within 3 to 4 days of that snowfall event. And during, depending on the weather, additional snowfall and allocation of resources, snow removal of all of our streets typically takes between 16 and 20 days to clear all the roads. The Parks Department takes care of our outdoor rinks and snow and sidewalks and trails. Clearing of level 1 routes of our sidewalks and trails typically is completed within 2 working days, with all routes being completed within 4 working days. At the time of that update, we did also include adjusting our Parks Department's work schedule, where we did change to a 7-day work week when there's maintenance to the outdoor rinks required. So this was our first weekend that we did adjust to the 7-day work week. So that's all I have for a summary, if you have any questions.
All right. Thank you, Director Kennedy. Does anybody have any questions about snow removal? Okay. So we'll just have a motion then, please, to accept the report as information. Councillor Wing.
Mayor Barclay, I would move that council accept the report on the snow and ice control policy 2024-010 for information.
All right, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Now we'll move on to 4.4 with budget deliberations with Director Vickers.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. So really, administration just wanted to bring this report to council and kind of give one last chance to have some conversation about our budget and the items included in budget prior to formal passing next week. So can we just go through the PowerPoint that I kind of did up? Okay. So we presented this slide during budget deliberations as well, and kind of this slide or these kind of objectives kind of served as the foundation for the budget and how we kind of collected all the information and what administration felt we needed to put in. The focus was on aligning the budget with council's strategic plan, ensuring that we continue to meet our community's needs, and supporting the programs and services that residents do value, all while trying to maintain competitive property taxes, as well as preserve the overall health and stability of the organization. So where did we start? So we came in on Friday, November 21st in the afternoon, and administration presented a 1.59 tax increase before council. From there, administration worked closely with council, reviewing all the options, adjusting any assumptions, and refining the budget based on council's feedback. By the end of day on November 26th, at lunchtime, council directed administration to kind of go take a further review of that tax increase and get it down low. Administration came back with a 0.27% tax increase. At the end of the day, council further asked administration to bring back a balanced budget with no tax increase included. Okay, so where we adjusted, so when we first started with that 1.59% tax increase, that did require $175,000 worth of additional tax funding. During deliberations, council did direct administration to add in a new $50,000 operating project around support for your new ICF agreement. So with that addition and council's direction to achieve a 0% tax, we did need to identify $225,000 in reductions to meet that target. So this slide just shows how we reached that number. We reviewed multiple program areas and did make some target reductions that, but not affecting any of the core service delivery. We did scale back on the sidewalk program. We increased revenues in some specific areas. We reduced council's communication training, as well as some staff training got lowered as well. We did remove some smaller discretionary projects, and that all kind of contributed to that required amount. So we have been able to bring it down to a 0% tax increase for this budget that we're going to present today. So this slide is just that quick overview of our finalized numbers. So you can see that revenues and expenses are balanced at $31,875,000, and that does include everything that was reviewed and deliberated with council last week, as well as those reductions have been taken out. So as it sits, we are sitting at a 0% tax increase. Okay, yeah, I'm not quite there yet, but so we still have a 0% tax increase, and we were able to achieve those numbers without doing a franchise fee increase as well. So we are sitting with a 0% contingency. So with the mill rate, we are seeing a 7.1% mill rate increase. It is just a generalized number at this point. Sorry, assessment growth, sorry. Not mill rate, yes. Sorry. Thank you. So our local market has remained healthy and supported by the development that we've seen in the last number of years. And we've reinvested in existing properties and broader, So that's where kind of we're sitting at right now. Our assessment is kind of in line with where the provincial line has been sitting with what we discussed last week. Looking ahead, most indicators suggest that assessment values across the province will definitely tend to stabilize out as markets kind of stabilize in there. And I like to show the next slide every time we kind of talk about it. Just building that debt capacity. This was earmarked for the Aquatic Center payment project, something to do with that. And so over the past several budget cycles, we have been deliberately building in that capacity within our budget that has been maintained in this budget for 2026. So we are sitting, if you see on that line for 26, we're sitting at that 782 mark. So we do need one more year to kind of fully cap out for that Aquatic Center line of credit payment. If again, we talked about this last week, if the final borrowing is different or the project numbers are different than what this kind of number says, we will bring back a conversation to council to kind of look at the whole project as a whole and kind of provide some options for council going forward. Another thing that we were able to include in this budget is our reserve increase. So we've been talking for a number of years about our gap in annual reserve savings based on our 10-year capital plan. And that number is that we are $1.6 million short in spending. We talked about this and included it in the budget for 2025. And then we further were able to increase it in 2026. So we are hitting $400,000 now. We know administration recognizes that we're not in a position to increase that total amount all in 1 year. So this was kind of the offset to try and gradually build up those numbers to invest in our 10-year capital plan and in our infrastructure.
Director Vickers, can we ask questions as we go along, or would you rather wait till the end?
No, go ahead, Mayor Barclay.
Okay, so if you flip back to that slide. So my question is, our state of infrastructure is showing an underfunding of 2.4 now, correct? Like, it was 1.6, but the state of infrastructure report is showing, I think, 4.7 compared to 6.4 we should be spending, or something like that.
Correct. Yeah, I don't know the exact number, but, and again, that was based on a snapshot of time.
Okay.
For that update.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess my question is, going back to this slide, like when we see the gap, like, should we be tying that into the new state of infrastructure report, or?
Right.
Or am I confused?
Yeah, again, we could update this. It's a snapshot of time. So, and really what this is like trying to identify is the gap. And it's not specifically spending per year. It's what should be reserved allocated, if that makes any sense. So instead of spending $6 million, we're trying to spend, we're spending $4 million. We could continue to spend $4 million, but we should be allocating that reserve funding so that when a major project does hit, we can then pay for that project.
Okay.
I think 2.1 versus 1.6, yes, we should probably have updated this, but it's still significant.
Okay. And then the increase to reserves, so going back to that slide again, sorry, the 200,000. So is that the 2% that we're increasing the reserves? Like there's to build the debt capacity?
So Mayor Barclay, so no. So that is specifically to the aquatic center that will be going either into the facility reserve, either to pay for the aquatic center project as a whole, or to be earmarked for that debt payment. This $200,000 is on top of that.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
So on the next slide, we do look at those increased dollars in the budget, and you can see that reserve transfers, the increase in total dollars from 2025 to 2026 is $487,301. So that includes the $200,000 for just investment into infrastructure, and then it also includes the aquatic center payment, and then there is a couple other areas that we did ask for some targeted reserve investments inside the department. So we are seeing the largest increase is being made up of reserve transfers. We can see on this list that RCMP has increased by $110,000. We see electricity increased. Planning services, that did increase. However, that was an item that we increased due to removal of a certain staff position to kind of offset the cost and needs for that department. Computer programming insurance, they increased. So if there's any questions on this slide about any of the specific areas. Just to note, the salaries and benefits, that is a total direct GL cost. However, it is understanding that 2 positions were removed from last year, so. Okay, so the next one is just our proposed utility rates. So nothing has changed since last week. These are the rates that would be starting on January 1st. So residents wouldn't necessarily see these rates come through until the end of January when they receive their first bill for 2026. The next slide is just the comparison again. One thing to note, we were discussing this morning, and we did talk about the city of Red Deer and their rates. And so we just did some calculations, and based on our same 10 cubic calculation, their rate would be sitting at $107 per month. So they would be at the very lowest, far below any of the other members that are on their same commission lines and things like that. So the resident monthly charges, so this is kind of, we always like to show what they're going to see as an increase. So that is that $5.60 utility bill increase. That assessment increase is based on a 7% increase. However, that may or may not happen per property. Each individual property will reflect differently. And then, of course, a 0% tax increase because we are not asking for any type of increase for that. So residents still could potentially see around a $25 a month increase to their property. We'll know a little bit more specifically about that assessment increase in the springtime when we get individualized properties information. We do here have all of the operating projects that are identified within the budget. So you can see there's a number up there for council, the strategic planning that will be happening in January, communication workshop, as well as a committee review that will be happening sometime next year. The second year of our fire services master plan, the fire cadet program, and so on and so forth. The next slide is some items that were left unfunded out of the budget that we had some considerable conversations around during budget deliberations last week. And these items will, while they don't make up part of this budget currently, we will have some conversations and bring those back to council, either through a surplus conversation or as a need kind of comes up for them. And this slide shows the full list of capital projects that council had conversations through budget deliberations. The total here is $6,505,000, and it just reflects a mix of required replacements, infrastructure work, as well as some technology upgrades. And then, of course, we have a few planning projects across the organization. And then the final slide is really just sitting where our reserves are. So it shows the projected reserve balance at the end of 2026. And this accounts for all required projects as well as all of the contributions inside those reserves each year. I would like to note just the land acquisition reserve. It is sitting at $6 million. However, we do have that residential development that is intended to be funded by land sales. However, since most of those land sales will be closing in either 26 or 27, we do have to prepay for that entire development. And it will be coming out of that reserve, with then the land sales kind of reinvesting back into that reserve when they come in. Okay, so council, I really want to open it up and let you guys have any further conversations or any further questions prior to bringing it for formal approval next week, just to make sure that we can incorporate any changes that council would like to see into it. So,
all right, thank you, Director Vickers. So I will open it up to council to bring forth any comments. Nothing? Councillor McKellar? Councillor Hill? Councillor Wing? I have comments. Of course.
I will say, if I
Go
may.
ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not, my lack of comments is not because of, it wasn't a light topic. It was just a couple days, and I felt that the Friday that we had prior to the weekend to review things was a really very beneficial. That was the first time I've ever been part of that. That's been happened through a budget process for me, and I found that extremely helpful. So I think if I had any say, I would definitely like that to happen in the future if possible. But yeah, it was a lot of information, and it was very well delivered by administration, and I think that made my position here a lot easier to understand and to make some informed decisions and ask the right questions, I think. So I appreciate that, and yeah, I'm good with everything that's presented at this time. Mayor Barclay.
Okay, thanks for those comments. So just picking on Director Kennedy here a little bit. So I'm going to go back to the wood chipper, the grinder, $80,000. And my council colleagues may not agree, and that's fine, but I would really like to see us take a look at that and a little deeper, I guess, and does it make sense to do that and staff time as opposed to having somebody, a third party, come in and take the trees away and grind them for us.
Okay.
Do you know what, like, have we ever looked into that, or?
I guess we have not looked into what it would take. it's multiple times throughout the year, so we would have to do that multiple times because the piles, we knock the piles down obviously as they get bigger, we go in, mulch it down, move the mulch over, and then utilize it. We have been using that mulch for residents, stockpiling it over at the LLC and making it available to residents for free. We definitely could look at that. That would mean obviously an increase to our operating budget in order to bring a contractor in. Right now, just to maintain it, based on the volume that goes in there, it definitely takes that full annual $10,000 budget. So I guess what we looked at is if we, throughout the year, utilize our manpower, have a piece of equipment like this that then maintains it, we could eliminate a lot of that $10,000 that's being spent locally. So we looked at it as a pretty much an 8-year investment in order to get that machine paid for. And then we would have it, the life cycle of that machine is probably at least 15, 20 years. So we felt that it was a good investment for us to do, as well as a service for the town as well.
No, good enough. I believe you. CO Becker.
Just not to interject in the conversation, or your inquiry, Mayor Barclay. Again, if there's further detail you want on any specific topic or even on the chipper, Director of Administration would be happy to come back with you with more of an outline of what that service looks like and the costs to allow you to make the best decision. So if you would like that, the resolution would be appropriate to just see if council agrees with you, but we'd be happy to get that information to the level you expect.
No, I'm not the chipper expert, that's for sure. So, Councillor Hill.
Yeah, I obviously, I see validity to the acquisition of this item. It's one of those things that if you get some pretty mild years and there's not a lot of use on it, then you have something that's, obviously it's a big chunk of change, but it's one of those things if we do have a really bad storm and a couple times in a year and it's there and it could definitely be worth its weight in gold. So I could see that to the town as well. Seeing as it is something that, not that I take any of the requests just because it's funded from reserves, doesn't mean it's, it's not free money. I see that, but if it's something that administration and is recommending, obviously there's ways to try to make it work, and I'm sure you guys have tried that and utilizing a smaller chipper, identifying the need for a bigger one that would maybe be more efficient and using your guys' leisure. Obviously there's training and it's another piece we have to ensure, so there's an added cost, but I think if it could be more efficient and hopefully safer, but yeah, I don't object to it. I just, as long as there's been all the avenues have been thought of how could it be cheaper, and if it's a 8-year payback to an 8-year payback model, then I guess I could live with that. So
Yeah, me too. I'm happy with an 8-year payback for sure. And I just want to make a comment that out in the community. So the number one thing that I'm hearing positive comments about are the lights and wrapping the trees and stuff. So I realize that's a surplus item now, but if there's adequate surplus, I guess I would like to see the project maybe not be over a 3-year period, because I think it's making a huge impact. Like I'm hearing that from business people, that they're really thrilled with those lights. And of course, going back to 13 Ways, that was one of their first recommendations. But it's good to hear that from people in town that they like what they see. So. Okay. Anything else?
So I have nothing else.
Okay.
No?
Okay. So I just want to make sure that we use the language like we're doing a 0% mill rate increase.
That's correct.
That people don't get confused that there's a 0% tax increase.
That's right.
Okay. And I still, well, as we go further, I guess like next year, maybe still looking into mill rates, residential versus non-residential. I did some calculations today, and I think the residential taxes, the increases have been around like 32-33% since 2021 on residential and about 14 for non-res. So, and I don't know, I realize it's a philosophy. I'm not one who wants to tax the non-residential community because I want us to be competitive and attractive. But at the same time, I think it's a philosophy and a discussion that we could have as council to see where we'd like that split to be, whether it's 75-25, 70-30, 80-20, which is where we're at right now. So just wanted to bring that up for future discussion sometime. And maybe it's more of a discussion going forward for the budgets, the 3 years after that, more
Right.
so.
Yeah.
Okay. So if there's nothing further, I'll just have somebody make the recommended motion. Councillor Hill.
Yes, Mayor Barclay, I'll make the motion that council directs administration to bring back the 2026 operating and capital budget as approved at the, for approval, pardon me, at the next regular council meeting.
Great, thank you. Anything? No, nothing else, so all in favor? All right, and thank you again, Director Vickers and everybody for all your work on this, and appreciate it. Okay, we'll move into correspondence and information. CEO Becker, is the town going to be sharing any of the Alberta Munis resources in our communications, or?
Mayor Barclay, so yeah, we just received this last week. Wanted to get it into the hands of council.
Yeah.
As an FYI, part of your dialogue with the community. It's also shared with communications, and as the budget is passed, I'm sure it's already initiated the communication profiling of the budget. This will be a consideration. Communications we'll look at too.
Okay, thank you. So if there's no questions about correspondence, I'll just get somebody to please make a motion that we accept the correspondence as information. Councillor Wing?
Yes, Mayor Barclay, I'll make that motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. And we'll move into roundtable with Councillor Wing.
Mayor Barclay, I don't have anything this week. I'll have a full report for next meeting.
All right, thank you. And Councillor Hill?
Yeah, nothing further to add. I was looking forward to getting an MPC meeting in tomorrow, but there's still nothing to deliberate or discuss, so unfortunately that won't happen.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McKellar?
As Mayor Barclay, I'll submit my report. Nothing to add at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Next
Councillor
week.
Russell?
I actually have quite a busy week, all-day training on Wednesday for the Subdivision Development Appeal Board. So that's mandatory. I have to participate in. And I have 2 committee meetings on Thursday. One is the Central Alberta Regional Waste Management Commission and the Policing a Safe Communities. So I'll give updates on those in my report for next week. And I do believe the correspondence, there's that event on Friday at
Yes.
the library as well. So.
Central Alberta first, yeah, for sure. Okay, I'll give a little plug for Festival of Trees. So visited that on Saturday. It was very nice, and the market at the Legion was good. A couple of meetings this week, so emergency management services, and then have a virtual meeting with Minister Williams, Municipal Affairs Minister, later this week. So he's given us a little bit of time to have a chat, so looking forward to that. And then I'll have a report next week. So upcoming events. Just have a motion, please, to accept the upcoming events as information. Oh, sorry,
Can I just
Director
make a
Jenkins?
note? So,
Yes.
Councillor Hill's correct, no MPC tomorrow. There is potential there could be an MPC meeting on December 16th. That would be the 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Yeah, and Mayor Barclay, the Central Alberta Regional Waste was changed to December 4th. It originally was December 3rd, but a number couldn't make it because of that other training. So.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so just a motion to accept the upcoming events as information, please. Councillor Russell?
I'll make that motion, Mayor
Okay,
Barclay.
thank you. All in favor? Carried. And I think that's it for today. So we'll just have a motion to adjourn, please. Councillor McKellar?
Mayor Barclay, I'll make that motion to adjourn.
Perfect. We're adjourned at 4:24. Thank you.
Just